There is a whisper that lives inside every man and woman. It speaks before the first coin is earned, before the first dream is drafted. It speaks in the silence of your own mind, and if you do not master it, it becomes your silent executioner. Napoleon Hill once warned, "Poverty is attracted to the mind that expects it, just as surely as wealth gravitates to the mind that demands it. Not demands with anger, not demands with entitlement, but demands with an unshakable conviction that wealth, prosperity, and abundance are natural outcomes of inner authority, a mind that commands its world from within." Yet most are unaware that they are carrying hidden thoughts that act as saboteurs. Tiny seeds planted long ago by parents, by schools, by fearful societies have grown into vines that strangle every new attempt at fortune. These thoughts operate in the background like invisible puppeteers, guiding the hand, delaying the action, diminishing the belief. And so, year after year, no matter how much effort is made externally, the harvest returns empty, not because of fate, not because of unfairness, but because the soil of the mind was already poisoned. The thoughts we tolerate become the prisons we inhabit. The beliefs we do not question become the chains we cannot see. Hill knew the truth most feared to admit. You have been given complete control over but one thing, your own mind. And it is enough if you use it. Today, we will uncover the 7 thoughts, the 7 silent thieves that are keeping you broke. Each one a layer of dust on your mirror. Each one a stone in your pocket as you try to rise. This is not a condemnation. This is an awakening. Because once you can see the invisible walls, you are no longer trapped by them. The fortune you seek does not live in the lottery ticket, the promotion, or the economic system. It lives in the very architecture of your own mind. And before this journey is over, you will see the 7 locks and you will hold the key. Breathe deeply. Prepare to look into the places you've been taught to avoid. Your liberation begins now. Somewhere in the hidden chambers of your mind, there is a river. It was meant to flow endlessly, a river of ideas, of opportunities, of wealth. But for most, that river has dried into a cracked and barren bed, stretching out under a merciless sun. This is the drought of scarcity, and it is not caused by the world. It is caused by a thought. The thought of scarcity says, there isn't enough. If I gain, someone else must lose. Resources are limited. Survival is competition. This thought is so ancient, so embedded into the survival instincts of humanity, that it often feels like common sense. But in the realm of wealth, it is a poison. Napoleon Hill teaches us that poverty is first accepted before it is experienced. It is tolerated in the mind long before it is measured in the bank account. Scarcity thinking shrinks the mind's capacity to envision, to invent, to invest. It locks you into a tiny mental cell, fighting over scraps, blind to the vast fields of possibility just beyond your immediate fear. Imagine standing before an endless ocean, but refusing to cup your hands because you believe the water will run out. That is scarcity. It breeds jealousy. It breeds hoarding. It breeds a paralyzing fear that any movement, any investment, any risk will drain the tiny, fragile reserve you clutch to your chest. But wealth does not respond to clutching hands. It responds to open channels. It flows toward boldness, toward expansion, toward minds that see the infinite when others only see the finite. The thought of scarcity is the death of dreams before they are even born. Look at the signs. Are you afraid to invest in yourself? Do you view other people's success as a threat to your own? Do you believe there's only so much to go around? These are the cracks in the riverbed. These are the signs that scarcity thinking has invaded your soil. And here is the tragedy. Scarcity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you believe there isn't enough, you behave in ways that guarantee lack. You become cautious when you should be courageous. You hesitate when you should leap. You conserve when you should create. The mind shrinks, the heart withers, and life mirrors back the drought you internally agreed to. Hill wrote, "Success comes to those who become success conscious." Failure comes to those who indifferently allow themselves to become failure conscious. Scarcity is failure consciousness in disguise. It is the silent agreement to lose before you have even begun. But here's the revelation. The river has not disappeared. It waits beneath the surface. The drought is not the truth. It is the result of damming your own natural flow. When you replace the thought of scarcity with the thought of abundance, everything changes. You no longer see closed doors. You see openings you hadn't noticed before. You no longer fear giving. You understand that giving multiplies what you have. You no longer shrink. You expand, and in doing so, invite life to meet you at your new size. Reflect for a moment. Where have you been clutching out of fear? Where have you been operating from the belief that there isn't enough? How many opportunities have you let slip through your fingers because you thought you had so little to spare? Read that again. Feel the weight of those questions. They are the beginning of resurrection. You must tear out the root of scarcity from your mind like a weed that has strangled your garden. You must declare internally, there is more than enough because I am more than enough. This is not naive optimism. It is spiritual intelligence. It is the understanding that life expands to match the vessel it is poured into. You are the vessel. Your belief is the shape. If you shape it small, life trickles. If you shape it wide, life floods. The drought is optional. The river waits for your command. Next, I'll continue into. Would you like me to immediately proceed? Perfect. We stay in flow. There is a force more crippling than poverty itself. It is not visible in the bank account, nor tangible in the marketplace. It lives in the unseen chambers of the mind, weaving silent traps across every ambition, every idea, every bold movement forward. This force is fear. Napoleon Hill called it the tool of the devil, the instrument by which men and women are kept docile, small, and defeated without ever realizing they were conquered. Fear is the assassin that wears the face of reason. It whispers, be careful. It warns, it's too risky. It convinces, you will lose. And so, without a battle fought, the dream is abandoned. The gold is left buried. The ship never sets sail. The most dangerous aspect of fear is its ability to cloak itself as prudence, as logic, even as morality. It never shouts. It whispers. It wraps itself around the mind like shadowy vines around a tree, slowly squeezing the life out of every growing thing. Hill identified 6 primary fears: fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. But in the context of wealth building, it is the fear of poverty and the fear of criticism that strike the deepest wounds. Ask yourself, how many times have you hesitated because you feared losing money? How many dreams have you suffocated because you were afraid of what others would think? How many bridges have you refused to cross because you feared they would collapse under you? Each time you yield to fear, you deepen the groove of paralysis in your mind. Each time you bow to the silent saboteur, you reinforce the belief that safety lies in inaction. But here is the truth, raw and unvarnished. Safety does not lie in inaction. Inaction is its own risk. It is the slow rot of the soul. Fear is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to sharpen. Imagine a warrior entering battle. The presence of fear is not a command to retreat. It is an alertness, a heightening of senses, a deepening of presence. It is not fear itself that destroys wealth. It is obedience to fear. There is a monumental difference between acknowledging fear and obeying it. A warrior sees the arrow flying, but does not lay down their sword. They move smarter, faster, more precisely. So must you. You must see fear as a shadow play, real in sensation, false in substance. Think of fear like a dense mist rolling over a field. From a distance, it looks impenetrable. But when you step into it, you find it has no substance. It cannot hold you. It cannot harm you. It can only obscure your view if you choose to remain still. The thought of fear becomes poverty when it paralyzes movement. When it convinces you to protect what little you have instead of creating more. when it fools you into believing that the greatest risk is trying. But Napoleon Hill's wisdom pierces through the fog. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Fear is a parasite that feeds on your hesitation. Starve it by moving forward anyway. This is not recklessness. This is sovereign courage. The courage to trust the seeds you plant. The courage to believe in your own resourcefulness more than you believe in the specter of loss. Consider this deeply. What have you delayed because of fear? What dreams have you labeled unrealistic simply because they stirred discomfort? What skills, connections, or fortunes lie untouched because you obeyed a whisper instead of your own vision? Reflect on these questions until they carve a new urgency into your bones. Read them again and again, because until fear is recognized as the silent saboteur it is, you will unconsciously chain yourself to mediocrity. You will build your life on a trembling foundation, forever reinforcing the lie that safety is found in hiding. Fear is a liar. Action is the cure. Step into the mist and watch it dissolve. Look closely into the mirror of your mind. What do you see reflected back? Is it a clear, unwavering image of who you are becoming? Or is it fractured? 1,000 splinter versions of yourself, each one uncertain, each one whispering a different story. The thought of doubt is like a hammer against the mirror of self-belief. One strike is enough to shatter the reflection. One unchecked thought, maybe I'm not enough, or maybe it's too late, sends cracks racing through your internal image. And when the mirror is broken, you can no longer navigate toward your true wealth. You stumble through life seeing only fragments of what could have been. Napoleon Hill said, "Faith is the head chemist of the mind." Whatever dominates your thoughts determines the chemical reactions of your brain, your decisions, your destiny. But faith and doubt cannot occupy the same space. One must expel the other. Doubt is not caution. Doubt is corrosion. It eats away at the foundation of every plan. It weakens the spine of every commitment. It blurs the vision of every dream until what once seemed inevitable now seems impossible. Imagine building a bridge across a vast chasm. You lay stone after stone, carefully, steadily. But every time doubt enters your mind, you remove a stone you have already placed. You walk backward. You undo your own work. Eventually, the bridge collapses, not because it was impossible to build, but because you dismantled it with your own hands. This is the unseen cost of doubt. It devours not only opportunities, but also the will to continue. The thought of doubt infects two primary domains, your identity and your actions. First, it attacks identity. Who am I to do this? I failed before, so I will fail again. People like me don't succeed. Second, it attacks action. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I should rethink. Maybe it's safer not to try at all. Each seed of doubt grows a tree of hesitation. And beneath hesitation, wealth withers. Hill understood that wealth creation is not merely mechanical. It is spiritual warfare. It is a battle for belief. And belief must be protected like a sacred flame. Picture the ancient temples of old. At the center burned a fire tended day and night by devoted guardians. They understood that if the fire went out, the people would lose their way, their protection, their very identity. Your belief is that fire. Doubt is the cold wind that threatens to extinguish it. To tolerate doubt is to betray yourself. This is why Hill insists on the power of definiteness of purpose, a clarity so sharp it slices through the fog of uncertainty. When you are definite about your mission, doubt has no foothold. But clarity must be chosen, not inherited. It must be built brick by brick through relentless internal agreement. Here are the symptoms of doubt at work: chronic second-guessing, endless research without decision, abandoning projects halfway through, comparing yourself endlessly to others, feeling paralyzed when facing new opportunities. Do you recognize them? These are not random flaws. They are the fingerprints of doubt across the architecture of your destiny. Read that again. They are the fingerprints of doubt across the architecture of your destiny. You are not broken. Your mirror is cracked. And the good news is this: mirrors can be replaced. You must rebuild your self-image with intention. You must practice seeing yourself not as you have been, but as you are becoming. You must speak about your future as if it is already written in stone, not up for debate. Declare internally, I do not negotiate with doubt. I am the architect, and I say it is so. You feel resistance. You will hear the old familiar voices urging you to reconsider. Let them howl. Let them scratch at the gates. Do not open the door. When you encounter doubt, do not sit with it, reason with it, or journal about it. Move. Act. Prove it wrong with your forward motion. Action is the antidote to doubt. Each step you take, no matter how small, rebuilds the mirror. Each commitment you honor, no matter how humble, forges a new reflection. You are not who your doubts say you are. You are who your decisions declare you to be. Remember, the shattered mirror does not define you. The fire still burns beneath the ashes. The reflection can be restored. The bridge can be built, but only if you stop tearing it down. Somewhere in the vaults of abandoned dreams, there is a room filled with clocks. Once they were beautiful, brilliant instruments of purpose and motion. Now, they hang crooked on crumbling walls, their faces tarnished, their hands frozen at the hour when their owners chose to wait. The thought of waiting is a silent decay. It feels harmless, even wise. I'll start tomorrow. I'll begin when I have more time, more money, more certainty. Now is not the right moment. But what is rarely seen until it is too late is that waiting rusts the mechanism of destiny. Every second surrendered to hesitation becomes corrosion on the gears of momentum, until finally the clock stops. And with it, the dream. Napoleon Hill called procrastination the common enemy practically every man must conquer. It is not mere laziness. It is a slow betrayal of one's higher self. It is the postponement of transformation disguised as patience. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, how many ideas have you let wither because you waited for perfect conditions? How many connections, collaborations, and opportunities have dissolved into nothingness because you hesitated? How many times have you told yourself later, only to realize later never came? Each later is a small funeral, a quiet burial of potential. Read that again. Each later is a small funeral. The thought of waiting seduces you with the illusion of infinite tomorrows, but time is not loyal to those who delay. It is loyal only to those who move. Picture a bridge spanning two cliffs. The bridge is old, unstable, trembling in the wind. Every moment you stand idle at the edge, the bridge decays a little more. Boards rot, ropes fray. Eventually, what might have been crossed with courage crumbles beyond repair. Waiting is a form of self-sabotage. It is an unconscious agreement with fear, dressed in polite clothing. You tell yourself you are gathering more information. You tell yourself you are being prudent. But often, you are simply avoiding the necessary act of stepping forward, the leap into the unknown where true wealth waits. And the tragedy is, the clock does not stop when you do. The world moves on. The opportunities that were once ripe shrivel. The windows of alignment close. Hill observed this in the countless men and women who waited for perfect conditions that never materialized. He understood. Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand. Start where you stand. That phrase is a sword. It cuts through the fog of delay. It demands immediate allegiance to your own unfolding. Waiting for more knowledge, more capital, more certainty is a form of spiritual cowardice. The truth is, you will grow through the action, not before it. Action clarifies. Movement teaches. Commitment shapes capability. Consider the imagery. A rusted clock cannot be repaired by staring at it. It can only be restored by action, by dismantling, cleaning, rebuilding with your own hands. So too must you dismantle the structures of hesitation within yourself. Here are the symptoms of the waiting disease: obsessive research without execution, endless goal setting without goal starting, fantasizing about success without initiating the struggle, comparing your beginning to others' middle, and using it as a reason to delay. Every minute spent in hesitation is a minute spent feeding the rust. Read that again. Every minute spent in hesitation is a minute spent feeding the rust. You must declare war against the thought of waiting. You must hold yourself to the fire of urgency. Not panic, but sacred urgency. Sacred urgency says, my time is a gift. It must not be squandered. My destiny is waiting, but it will not wait forever. The clocks are ticking. The bridges are aging. The soil of today will not bear the same fruit tomorrow. Move, speak, begin. Even a flawed start is infinitely better than perfect hesitation, because from the flawed beginning comes refinement. From the messy action comes mastery. There is no other way. The thought of waiting is an assassin of greatness. It pretends to protect you, but it only preserves your smallness. The clock is rusting as you speak. Choose to move before it stops forever. There is a bridge every man and woman must cross to reach the other side of greatness. It is not made of stone or steel. It is made of responsibility. Each plank is a choice. Each rope is an agreement with truth. But many never make it across, because halfway there, they give in to a thought that snaps the bridge beneath their feet. The thought of blame. Blame is seductive. It is easier, softer, more comfortable than ownership. When outcomes are painful, it is easier to point outward than inward. It was the economy. It was my upbringing. It was the competition, the government, the market, my boss, my parents, my bad luck. Each time you blame, you hand over a piece of your power. Each time you blame, you drive a crack through the bridge that was carrying you forward. Until eventually, standing midair, you fall. Napoleon Hill was ruthless in his diagnosis of this disease. No alibi will save you from accepting the responsibility if you fail. The world may sympathize with your excuses, but destiny will not. Destiny listens only to those who claim the full weight of their choices, their actions, their inner state. Blame is not just a thought. It is a poison that seeps into identity. It teaches you that you are a victim. And the moment you accept the identity of a victim, you forfeit your ability to create, to command, to conquer. Picture a craftsman building a temple. He selects each stone carefully, measures each column meticulously. If the temple begins to collapse, does he scream at the stones? Does he curse the wind, the rain, the weight of the world? No, he recalibrates. He adjusts. He learns, because he knows the integrity of the temple is in his hands alone. So too must you view the architecture of your wealth, your success, your legacy. It is yours, fully, without excuse, without delay. The thought of blame fractures the mind's power. It divides your attention between your own actions and the endless injustice of the external world. And divided minds build nothing enduring. Reflect deeply. Where have you allowed blame to live in your thoughts? Where have you waited for someone else to change so that you could succeed? Where have you surrendered your own agency under the guise of fairness or injustice? Be mercilessly honest. Blame thrives in the shadows. Expose it to the light and watch it wither. Read that again. Expose it to the light and watch it wither. Blame is often hidden in more sophisticated disguises. Bitterness, resentment, cynicism, justifications. The I could have, but they stories. Each one is a broken plank on your bridge. Each one widens the chasm between where you are and where you could be. Understand this. Life is not fair. It was never meant to be, but life is obedient. It mirrors back the energy, the commitment, the resilience you bring to it. The wealthiest souls are not those who had the easiest roads. They are those who refuse to blame the road, the weather, or the obstacles. They built their bridge regardless. They crossed anyway. Hill writes, "The world has the habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going. Blame is the language of the lost. Responsibility is the language of kings. You must speak only the latter, This is not about guilt. It is about sovereignty. Sovereignty means owning your life so completely that there is no room for excuse. Only adaptation, only learning, only evolution. The bridge does not care how strong the winds are. It cares only whether you keep building. So ask yourself, will you let the thought of blame shatter your path? Or will you build, plank by plank, rope by rope, across every storm? The choice is not easy. It is sacred. The next time blame rises in your mind, catch it, hold it, strip it bare, and then ask, if it is mine to fix, it is mine to win. Because it is. Because it always was. The broken bridge can be repaired, but only by your own hand. This is the reflective close, where we pierce the deepest layer. At the end of every inner journey, there is a gate, tall, ancient, carved with symbols you cannot quite decipher. It is beautiful. It is heavy. It is sealed. And there, standing before it, is you. You see the riches beyond it, the success, the freedom, the legacy. You reach for the handle, and you find that it is locked. But here is the truth most never realize. The gate was never locked from the outside. It was locked from within. The final and most devastating thought that keeps you broke is not scarcity, or fear, or doubt, or even blame. It is the silent, buried belief that you are not worthy to pass through. Unworthiness. It is the invisible master key that governs everything you allow yourself to have, or refuse yourself to claim. Napoleon Hill hinted at it in every line when he spoke of deafness of purpose, a burning desire of faith. Because without the deep, visceral belief that you deserve to achieve your desires, no strategy, no opportunity, no amount of external effort can save you. You will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity. You will delay your own victories. You will hide behind endless preparation, endless waiting, endless self-criticism, all because somewhere deep inside the whisper says, I am not enough. I do not deserve more. It's for others, not for me. This thought does not always scream. It often lives in the background, masked by busy work, masked by modest goals, masked by constant deferral of your true calling. But it is there. It is the final prison. Understand this. No matter how strong your skills, no matter how brilliant your ideas, no matter how many opportunities stand before you, if you carry the thought of unworthiness, you will block yourself. Not the world. Not fate, you. It is you who must unlock the gate. It is you who must lay down the old stories, the inherited shame, the invisible guilt of becoming more than those who came before you. Consider this, where in your life have you settled for less, not because you lacked ability, but because you questioned if you deserve better? Where have you minimized your dreams to fit into the expectations of others? Where have you hidden your true hunger out of fear of seeming arrogant, greedy, or foolish? These are not coincidences. They are symptoms. Symptoms of an ancient agreement you never consciously signed, but still obey. Read that again. You obey an ancient agreement you never signed. The sealed gate is not a punishment. It is a test. It asks only one question. Will you claim what is already yours? Because wealth is not something you steal. It is something you accept. Success is not something you beg for. It is something you embody. Legacy is not something you are given. It is something you become. And the gate opens not by force, but by realization. Realization that you are not your past. Realization that you are not your fears. Realization that you are not your failures, nor your mistakes, nor the small vision others had for you. You are the one who was always meant to unlock the gate, not someday. Not when you are perfect. Now. Now with your imperfect hands. Now with your trembling voice. Now with your uncertain steps. Because perfection was never the price of admission. Only belief was. Declare it now. I am worthy of wealth because I am willing to grow into it. I am worthy of success because I am willing to carry its weight. I am worthy of greatness because I am willing to serve something greater than myself. Not as a guest, Not as an imposter, but as an heir. The sealed gate has waited long enough. The fortune beyond it has waited long enough. The world you were meant to shape has waited long enough. Breathe. Feel your hand on the handle. Feel the lock dissolving, not through struggle, but through truth. You do not need permission. You never did. Walk through. You've carried the code all along. Now you have the key, use it.